I'm Ernie Lau, the Manager and Chief Engineer for the Board of Water Supply. Before we get started tonight, if you don't mind, I'd like to take a moment of silence and prayer for the Ohana, the people in Maui that are suffering, that have lost loved ones. So if we can just take a moment of silence. Thank you. And I don't know about you, but when I watch the news, sometimes I just feel like crying. But so I'd like to start off by introducing. We have tonight here, and thank you for taking the time to come out to meet with us. We have here the Board of Water Supply leadership team here. So I'm going to ask, rather than introducing them, I'm going to ask them to stand up and, with a very loud voice, be able to introduce themselves and also explain what area of responsibility do they have at the Board of Water Supply. Because I want you to get to know the people that work hard every day to provide water service to our community. I'll start with my Deputy Manager, Erwin.
And I think there's a mic that's going to come around, so.
You can pass the mic around. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good night. Thanks, Wayne.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Erwin Kawata. I'm the Deputy Manager at the Board of Water Supply. My role is to help Ernie oversee the operation and the strategic future of the department. Thank you.
Jen?
Hi, I'm Jennifer Elfline. I'm the Administrator of Customer Care, and I'm responsible for assisting with your billing and new water services.
All right, and go pass it to whoever's next.
Hi, good evening. I'm JD Nurasaki, Acting Program Administrator for our Capital Projects Division. We oversee all of the design and construction for all of our facilities and pipelines.
Good evening.
Nice and loud.
Excuse me. Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Matsuo. I'm the Land Administrator for the Board of Water Supply. I take care of all the properties that we own and also granting access to those properties that people want to get into.
Hi, I'm Kevin Ihu. I'm in the Water Systems Operations Division. We're responsible for operating and maintaining the water system every day, all the facilities and the treatment facilities, and operating the system. Thanks.
Everybody, Barry Usagawa, Program Administrator for the Water Resources Division. We take care of resources, long-range resource plans, long-range capital plans, conservation, recycled water, development, systems analysis. Thanks for coming.
My name is Jason Nikaido. I'm the Program Administrator for Field Operations. Field Operations maintains and operates the water distribution system, hydrants, valves, and does any repairs like water main breaks and leaks in the system.
Aloha, everyone. I'm Henderson Uhiva, the Program Administrator for Information Technology. And my division is responsible for all the computer systems, the applications that run enterprise applications, the network communications, as well as cybersecurity in support of the operations of the board.
Hi, everybody. Sorry for my voice. I'm Raylan Nakabayashi. I head the Executive Support Office, which is not super descriptive of what we do, but I handle the budget, risk and legal matters, procurement, and security and emergency response.
Aloha kako, everyone. My name is Ron Fenstermacher. I take care of all the labs. We try to keep the water safe to drink.
Aloha, I'm Joe Cooper. I'm the Waterworks controller. Let's see, we read your meters and send out your bills. We also issue bonds and get state loans to help Jay Dean build the pipelines and build the infrastructure. And I also assist Dave in working on and developing a new rate study. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jewel Farms. I'm the Assistant Administrator in Customer Care. I support Jennifer every day, but we deal with also the billing and new water service.
Aloha, Kathleen Pahinui, Communications. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Actually, why don't you introduce yourself?
Everyone, I'm known to be shy, but I'm John Kaneshiro on the board of the BWS, here to listen and learn and take in any feedback you may have from this great presentation.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, everybody, and I'm going to move a little bit here. So I just feel very uncomfortable having somebody hidden by a column. So is this better? Okay, hi. I'm Ernie Lau. So tonight we're going to be talking about proposed water rates for the next 5.5 years. It is a proposal. The final decision will be made later this year by our water board, and Jonathan Kaneshiro is a board member on our 7-member water board. So the decisions about water rates are the responsibility of our volunteer board, and not the city council. Also, the board is also responsible to adopt and approve budgets, our operating budget and our capital improvement program budget. So tonight we're talking about a proposal, and we really want to hear your mana'o about this, because we're going to take this information and share it back to the board before they make their decision. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. I'll turn it over to Dave.
Yeah, thank you, Ernie. Well, welcome, and I want to thank you all for being here, and I'll just jump in. We've got a fairly small group tonight, so I will entertain questions as we go through the presentation. Only thing I'd ask is that you walk up to the microphone so the whole room can hear you. But feel free to ask questions as we go through. So 3 most important words on this slide, right? Kawaiola. And I think here on an island, we're particularly cognizant that all we have is what's right here, and that's especially true for water, which all life depends on, of course. So Ernie mentioned the Board of Water Supply is a semi-autonomous agency governed by a 7-member board. It's funded solely by ratepayers. So the board charges for the water it delivers to its customers. That's how the funding comes in. Does not receive any funding from property taxes. And the rates that we're talking about tonight are water. We're not talking about sewer rates. That's a different agency, a different rate setting process. So we're talking about water rates tonight. The Board of Water Supply delivers safe, dependable, and affordable water to your tap every minute of every hour of every day. And doing that requires a large and complex system. If we start from the sources, there's 13 tunnels, 5 shafts, 194 groundwater wells and pumps. Some of that water needs to be treated to remove legacy contaminants. So there's 13 treatment systems. It then goes into 172 potable water reservoirs around the island that stores water to maintain pressure, provide fire storage, those types of things, helping with when we talk about fires, right, we're particularly sensitive to that right now in emergency response. There's 192 booster pumps that pressurize the system and move water around the island through 2,100 miles of pipes, 21,000 fire hydrants, and all of this is serving 170,000 service connections that serve about 1 million people. On average, 145 million gallons of water is delivered to customers every day. So as I mentioned, all of the money that the board gets is from charging for the delivery of water. And so let's talk a little bit about where that money goes. So if we look at the pie and we start at the top, and I'm just going to walk you around clockwise. And if we start with the capital improvement program, that blue slice at the top, So these are the projects we were talking about, the stuff that Jadine's in charge of, new pipelines, reservoirs, pump stations. So some of that is paid for with cash, the money that comes in, and some of it is paid for with money that's borrowed and then paid back over time. So the cash part is the blue, the repayment of loans is the purple, and together that's about 27% of the budget each year. If we then move on to the orange slice, that's employee salaries. And if we combine it with the blue slice right underneath that, that's health and retirement benefits. Add those two things together, that's about 29% of the budget. The gray slice is what it costs to operate and maintain the system, a little less than a third of the total expense. And the green slice is electricity. And that's $33 million spent on electricity, or 12% of the budget. It takes a lot of power to move that water around the island, to pump it out of the ground, pressurize it in those pipes, and to deliver it to your homes. Now, BWS last approved rate increases in 2018, and they were approved for a 5-year period. We're pretty proud of the things that were accomplished with that money that came from those rate increases. If we look at in aggregate planning, design, and construction, that money went to fund 494 projects with a total investment of about $770 million. So a lot's been done with that money to really improve the water system, improve its reliability, and make sure that you're getting that dependable service that you expect. Then March 2020 happened, and we all know what happened then, right? COVID. And COVID caused a lot of changes for all of us. Not the least of which was the water system. So a dramatic change in customers' water use patterns as the tourism-driven economy shut down, businesses stopped using as much water, people stayed at home, single-family residences, residential customers use a lot more water. It also sent into motion a number of other things, like a global supply chain shortage that then set in motion an inflationary period. And what this is showing is a couple of things. It's covering the years of 2019 through 2023, and the top green line is the total inflation through that period. In total, inflation was about 21%, just underneath that. The yellow line is the amount that BWS's revenues went up during that period through rate increases, about 12.5%. And that leaves a big gap, over 8%. That's a loss of purchasing power. If we think about it in terms of the annual BWS budget of about $270 million, we're talking about a gap of on the order of $25 million a year. So that's a really big number. Energy costs, I mentioned those. I showed you that there are about $33 million that's expended on energy in the last year. What's going on in this chart is that the top purple line is the BWS's total energy usage. This is from July 2020 to present. And that purple dashed line shows a nice downward trend in energy consumption. There's been a lot of effort put into energy conservation on the part of the BWS. So that's good news. The green line is the energy cost adjustment factor that Hawaiian Electric charges. And that's gone from about a dime per kilowatt hour. It's tripled to 30 cents per kilowatt hour. I'm sure you see it in your own power bills. The result of that, you put those two things together, and energy costs over this time have increased from about $2 million a month to now about $3 million a month. And in fiscal year 2023, the fiscal year that was just ended, it was about $5.5 million, or 20% over what was anticipated. So again, some big numbers here. And finally, the Red Hill response. You've all kept track of Red Hill in the papers and on the news, and you know that there's been big impacts to BWS's system as a result of that. So currently, money is being spent for monitoring wells to understand where that contamination is spreading, exploratory wells to find safe locations for new sources. In total, there's about $17.5 million of replacement sources that need to be put in to replace that water that's been impacted by Red Hill. As yet undetermined is the full impact to water quality, to operations and maintenance costs, and to the ability to recover those costs from the Navy. In light of all of this, the BWS has done a lot to control costs, to tighten its belt. Some of those actions taken include not passing on those big increases in energy costs that I showed you, not passing those on to customers, deferring the purchases of replacement vehicles and other equipment, and deferring less critical capital projects, things that can be pushed out into the future that aren't needed right this moment. The benefits of that are being able to hold to already approved rate increases and also keeping this year's operations and maintenance budget essentially flat despite ongoing high inflation. Even with all of those things, there's the need to increase water rates. That's the unfortunate reality of it. And doing this requires a delicate balance between investments to make in providing safe and dependable water and rate affordability. And as I said, that's a delicate balance, and it's something that the BWS has spent a lot of time doing evaluations of over the past year and a half, and you're going to see the results of that effort tonight. And as Ernie said, we welcome your input on this. So what will this money pay for from the rate increases that we're talking about? This is showing the capital improvement program over the next 6 years. And there's a lot going on here, so let me walk you through it. Let's start with the big gold ribbon that's going across there. We're looking at years 24 through 29, and over on the vertical axis, we're looking at $50 million increments. So that gold ribbon coming across, that's for sources. And as I mentioned to you, the Red Hill response is requiring the drilling of new monitoring wells and exploratory wells. That's happening in the first couple years of this effort. Then there's also the Kaleloa seawater desalination plant. This is a brand new desalination plant, seawater desalination plant that the board is building, first ever here. And then in the latter period of time out here, you can see those replacement sources that I talked about. So that's the investment in new sources, and it's a pretty big chunk of money. If we go to the blue ribbon right above that, that's for facilities, things like security, control systems, facility improvements. Pretty even level of spending in that band from year to year. The green ribbon above that, that's for storage. And the biggest part of these expenditures are in the later years for Waiava reservoirs, about $97 million. And then you see the dark blue above that, that's for pump replacements. That's the pumps that move water around the island and make sure that the system's pressurized. And obviously a very critical element of the infrastructure. And finally, the brown ribbon at the top, that's pipelines, new and replacement pipelines. You can see it's another big area of investment. This is to help reduce the number of water main breaks, those types of things. In total, about $425 million on over 41 miles of new pipelines are being proposed here. Let's talk about you now for a bit, our customers. And there are 6 different types of customers or classes of customers. Single-family residential. This comprises 90% of the BWS's customer accounts. They use about 35% of the water in total, and they pay about 95% of the cost to serve them. Not 100%, they pay a little less than that, 95%. And that means they're getting helped by another customer type. And that's where we're going to jump down to the orange bar. Those are our non-residential customers. That's about 5% of our customer accounts. These are the businesses, the big hotels, government agencies, all those non-residential customers. Again, about 5% of the customer accounts. They use in total about the same amount of water as single-family residential, and they pay 117% of their cost of service, so more than it costs to serve them. So that difference is going to help out single-family residential customers and also to provide discounted water rates for agricultural customers, shown in the green, and non-potable and recycled water customers, which we've lumped into one category here. And that amount that they're helped varies depending on the source of the water. So that's an overview of the types of customers, amount of usage, and how the costs to serve them are recovered. The rates that are being proposed here are for a 5.5-year period, and the first increase would happen on January 1st, 2024, and then July 1st, 2024, and then each July 1st thereafter. The first increase would be 10%, and then 10%, then 9%, 8.5%, 8%, and 8%. So those increases are planned every year, and they would apply to all of those customer classes equally. So all customer classes would see the same rate increase, those same percentages. But there may be some differences within those customer types where there are tiers, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that right after this. So residential customers have a tiered water rate, and that means that the more water they use, the more they pay for that increment of water. So let's look at single-family residential customers on the top bar here. The first tier, or the essential needs tier, is for the first 2,000 gallons of water usage each month. And customers pay $4.46 per 1,000 gallons for that first 2,000 gallons. Everybody pays that same rate for their first 2,000 gallons of usage. The next tier is from 2,000 gallons to 6,000 gallons per month. And customers pay $5.25 per 1,000 gallons, a little bit more for the usage in that tier. Now, about half of BWS's customer bills are 6,000 gallons a month and less, and about half are more than that. 10% of customers use 2,000 gallons a month or less. Okay? The next tier is from 6,000 to 30,000 gallons per month. Those customers pay $5.85 per 1,000 gallons. And then the top highest using customers, this is about 3% of the bills, that's over 30,000 gallons a month of usage. They're paying the highest tier rate for that usage, currently $9.25 per 1,000 gallons. As I said, about 3% of the customers are using more than 30,000 gallons a month. That's a lot of water. That's more than 3 times the average customer's usage. Multifamily residential rates are a very similar tiered structure. The essential needs tier is exactly the same. The other tiers are set a little bit lower, reflecting the fact that multi-unit residential doesn't have as much outdoor irrigation as single family. So we set the tiers a little bit lower. Now what's being proposed is to really limit the increases in that first tier, in the essential needs tier, to 2.5% per year to help maintain affordability and to reward those customers using the least amount of water. Now again, all customers get the benefit of that very low rate for that first tier of usage. And the rates, in fact, are designed very deliberately to encourage conservation. So let me explain this chart. The water tiers, the tiers we were just talking about, are shown along the bottom. The first tier, tier 1, 0 to 2,000 gallons, then tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4 with the big green circle around it. So as I said, the tier 1 rate is proposed to go up at 2.5% per year. So if we look at the blue bar, which is the current rate, and the orange bar, which is what it would be effective July 1st, 2028, you can see there's not a big difference between those two bars for tier 1. As we move to tier 2, the difference is a little bit bigger. Those customers currently pay $5.25 per 1,000, and it would go up to $8.76 per 1,000 gallons. And the biggest increases are in tier 4 for that top 3% of customers using those big, huge amounts of water. This is looking at similar information. So the yellow cells, the yellow rows show the tiers going from top to bottom, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. The purple or lavender cells show the current water rates for those tiers, just like I showed you on the previous slide. And then the blue cells show you how much it would go up, what it would go up to in each year. So essential needs tier, currently $4.46 per 1,000. On January 1st, 2024, it would go up to $4.57 per thousand. And then if you go all the way to the right-hand side, on July 1st of 2028, it would be $5.17 per thousand gallons. Interesting, but pretty hard to wrap your head around what your own bill looks like, right? So let's look at how to calculate your water bill. Again, the yellow shows the tiers. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4. The lavender cells show the current rate. The next column is the amount of usage. So here's an example for a customer that's using about 8,500 gallons, right? The first thing we do is we round that down to the nearest 1,000 gallons of usage. So 8,000 gallons or 8 kgals. So the first 2,000 gallons fall in Tier 1. And you can see that number 2 there. We multiply that by $4.46, and that equals $8.92. So that's their usage in Tier 1. They're using 4 kgals in Tier 2. That's multiplied times $5.25 equals $21. And there's 2,000 gallons that are in Tier 3. We do the same thing there. And this customer doesn't have any usage in Tier 4. So that's the usage part of the water bill. There's also a monthly customer charge. And for single-family residential customers, that's $12.09 per month currently. So we add that to the usage charge. Total bill is $53.71. Here's what your water bill actually looks like. Over on the left-hand side is the front page. It's divided into 2 columns. There's a green column, which is the Board of Water Supply part of the bill. And there's the tan column, which is the sewer part of the bill from the Department of Environmental Services. It's a separate agency. Their rate-making process is different, but it's included on the BWS bill. So a lot of people get confused about that. The $53.71 that we just calculated on the previous slide is shown over in the green column. And the second page of your bill actually shows you what I just showed on the previous slide. All the usage per each tier is there. The rate for each tier, it's all multiplied out. You can look at how that water bill is calculated. And if there's any questions about that, you can go to the BWS website, and there's great information about how to read your bill. I mentioned there's this monthly customer charge. It's based on meter size. The good news here is single-family residential customers, almost all of them have 3/4 or 5/8 inch meters. They pay the least amount for this charge. It's currently $12.09 per month. It would go up at those percentages that I showed you. And so it would go from $12.09 to $13.30 on January 1st, 2024. And on July 1st, 2028, it would be $20.18. And you can see the charges for those folks with larger meters. These are generally businesses and institutions. And they have larger meters. Those meters cost more to repair and maintain, which is why those costs are higher. So let's compare some bills. This is a single-family residential customer, a low water user, using 2,000 gallons a month. 10% of BWS's customers use this amount or less. This customer currently pays $21.01 per month. On January 1st of this coming year, it would go up to $22.44, then $24, and finally on July 1st of 2028, it would be $30.52. The dollar change is shown right below that. So on January 1st, it will go up by $1.43 per month. And you can see the amounts that it would change each year thereafter. And the percent changes down at the bottom, 6.8, 6.9. You're going to notice that's less than what I told you everybody's rate increase was going to be, right? I said it's going to be the same for all customer classes. So if you remember, that was 10% in the first 2 years. But it varied. There's some differences by tier. So the reason it's less here is because we're keeping the increases in that essential needs tier lower. And so these customers are getting the benefit of that. It's going up overall 10% for single family residential as a whole, but it varies a little bit depending on how much water you use. Median water usage. Half the customers use more than 6,000 gallons a month, half use less than 6,000. Here's an example for a 6,000 gallon per month bill. This customer currently pays $42.01 per month. On January 1st of this coming year, that would go up to $45.54. By July 1st, 2028, it would be $65.58. The monthly increases in the first increment, it would be $3.53 per month more. The next year, it would go up $3.84 per month, and so on. Then you see the percent changes down at the bottom. Again, if you look at those first two columns, it's less than 10%. The reason is these customers are also getting the benefit of that lower cost first 2,000 gallons of water. The average BWS water bill is 9,000 gallons per month. More than 60% of BWS's customers use 9,000 gallons per month or less. They're currently paying just under $60 for 9,000 gallons of usage. That would go up by a little more than $5 a month on January 1st, 2024. You can see the changes in each of the columns after that. And again, those percentage increases are less than the customer class overall because they're getting the benefit of that lowest cost first tier of usage. So who's making up the difference? It's the high water users. So here's a sample bill for someone using 35,000 gallons of water per month. Again, this is more than 3 times what the average single family customer uses. They currently pay $228.66 a month. That would go up on January 1st to over $256 a month, or an increase of about $28 a month. You can see the monthly changes in the water bill that happen each year thereafter, and the percentage increases here are high. If you look at those first two columns, they're higher than that 10% number. But if we look at the customer class as a whole, they're getting the same increases as everybody else. Multi-unit residential water rates are also tiered, and they look like this. You can see the tiers in the yellow cells. The current rate per 1,000 gallons are in the lavender cells, and how those rates would change are in the blue cells. So looking at the essential needs tier, they currently pay $3.77 per 1,000 gallons. That would go up in the first increase to $3.86, and it would finish over to the July 1st of 2028 at $4.37 per 1,000 gallons. You see the increases for the other tiers. Let's look at some sample bills. The way that we apply tiers to multi-unit residential, right? Because there's typically a single meter that comes into the complex. We look at the total usage within the building, divide it by the number of dwelling units, and that's how we figure out the usage per tier. So in this example in the top row, this is a building with 272 dwelling units served by a 3-inch water meter. The average usage here is 7,000 gallons per month. That bill for that building is $8,619. That would go up 10% in the first year. So it's $9,462. And then you can see the increases thereafter. In July 1st of 2028, it's about $14,500. Compare that to the bottom row. It's a building with about the same number of dwelling units, but the average usage per dwelling unit is twice as much. And I mentioned to you, the more water you use, the more you pay for that water, and that's really reflected in this bill. So in this instance, it's an 8-inch water meter, so they're paying more on the monthly customer charge, and they're paying more on the quantity rate of water. So that bill is currently just under $20,000 a month. It would go up to $22,610. And then by the end of the time period here, in July 1st of 2028, it would be $37,413. Non-residential customers, I mentioned, they pay more than their cost of service. They're paying 117% of the cost of service. And they don't have a tiered rate. They pay the same rate per 1,000 gallons of usage no matter how much they use. And that is a result of the fact that these are all different types of businesses and schools and government institutions, and they all use water very differently from each other. So it's really tough to come up with a fair, equitable, tiered rate structure for all those different types of customers. So it's typical to charge a uniform rate. So this is $5.27 per 1,000 gallons. Again, these are restaurants, hotels, let's look at what those rates look like. They would go up 10%, 10%, 9, 8.5, 8, and 8. So currently $5.27 per thousand gallons would go up to $5.80 per thousand on July 1st, 2024. By July 1st of 2028, it would be $8.80 per thousand gallons. Hard to wrap your head around. Let's look at some sample bills. The first row, this is like a fast food restaurant, an 1.5-inch water meter, and their usage is 230,000 gallons of water a month. They currently pay $1,230 a month for that usage. That would go up to $1,352 on January 1st of this coming year. And by July 1st of 2028, it would be just over $2,000 a month. I like jumping down to the bottom. This is a large shopping center, a 3-inch water meter, and they're using just under 5 million gallons of water per month. They're currently paying almost $26,000 a month for that usage. That would go up to $28,505 on January 1st of the coming year. And by July 1st of 2028, it would be over $43,000 a month. The large industrial user just above that on an 8-inch water meter using 31 million gallons of water a month, they currently pay just shy of $165,000 a month for that water bill. And by July 1st of 2028, that would be over $275,000 a month. So some big numbers here from these non-residential customers. There's currently reduced water rates for agricultural customers and recycled water customers. Let's take a quick look at those. Agricultural water rates, these are tiered also. The first two tiers are exactly like single-family residential. The tier set points are the same. The pricing in the first two tiers are the same, so I'm not going to go over that again. But look at the third tier. This is all usage above 6,000 gallons per month. And these customers, if you remember my slide about cost of service, they pay less than their cost of service. They pay about 60% of the cost of service, and that's to support on-island production of fresh produce, support local agriculture. So that's charged at $2.12 per thousand gallons for all usage above 6,000 gallons a month. That would increase to $2.33 on January 1st, 2024, and that high tier there would be $3.56 per thousand on July 1st of 2028. Non-potable and recycled water rates, these are also below cost rates to encourage use of these water sources by customers that have access to them. That benefits everybody because it saves the potable water for those higher value uses in our homes and businesses. So the non-potable rate is currently $2.90 per thousand gallons. That would go up to $3.19 per thousand on July 1st of the coming year. And finally on July 1st of 2028, $4.84 per thousand. The rates for R1 Golf and R1 Other, this is recycled water that's used for golf course and landscape irrigation. Those are shown right below. And then RO is a specialized type of recycled water that is demineralized through a reverse osmosis process. It's used for specialized industrial purposes. It costs a lot more to take those minerals out, so the rates here are higher than in the other categories. Currently $6.36 per thousand gallons, and you can see the amounts that it would go up in each successive increase. BWS also provides fee waivers in the form of a waiver of the water system facilities charge and the meter charge. The water system facilities charge is a one-time charge that a customer pays the first time they connect to the water system. So a developer's coming, building a bunch of new homes, they need to be connected to the system. They pay this one-time fee, a water system facilities charge. For affordable housing and homeless housing, BWS waives the water system facilities charge and the meter charge for those housing units. In total, since the program was started about 5 years ago, there's been about $2.5 million of fee waivers that have been granted. There's also waivers of the meter charge for buildings that are retrofitting their fire sprinkler systems. BWS is considering waivers of the water system facilities charge and the meter charge for new farmers connecting to the system for the first time, particularly small farmers with 3/4 and 1-inch meters. The value of this program would be limited to $1 million, which is a grant associated with a grant that BWS got from the state to help offset the construction of new sources for agriculture. Obviously, it would require, to get this, it would require proof of being a commercial agricultural operation, and the BWS would also require a water use plan to ensure that these farmers are using water efficiently. The rates I mentioned are structured very purposefully to support affordability, and those tiered rates to support affordability, and also to encourage conservation. So, and the monthly charge is set pretty low, right? So it really gives you the ability, if you can control your usage, if you conserve, then your bill is lower. And so to help support that, there's a bunch of conservation programs. The existing conservation device rebates that are available, some examples of those are over on the left-hand side. Rebates for rain barrels, for smart irrigation controllers, for low-use washing machines, for low-flush toilets. The details of all of these are on the conservation tab on BWS's website, and if you're not aware of them or haven't taken advantage of them yet, I encourage you to go there and check it out. BWS is also considering new conservation programs. One element of it would be top water user outreach, including to hotels, other businesses, condos, and townhomes. And then also considering a direct install program for Kapuna living on their own. This would be based on referrals from other agencies that work with these folks. It would include things like free low-flow shower heads and faucet aerators, doing a water use audit of the home, and also ensuring that they're aware of the other rebates that they may be eligible for. I mentioned one of the other BWS charges, the water system facilities charge. There's no changes proposed to that. In fact, on this list, the only one that has proposed changes is the top one, the fire meter standby charge. This is for readiness to serve. This is for those customers that have a private fire system, like automatic fire sprinklers that are connected to alarms or wet standpipes in buildings. So this applies to really, multi-family housing or some of the businesses. For 2-inch and smaller meters, that charge is currently just shy of $8 a month. It would go up in those numbers shown. Finally, in July 1st of 2028, it would be $13.34 per month. It goes up by meter size, and you can see the charges for those different meter sizes in the rows below. So the process, the rate adoption process, BWS has been evaluating all of the technical issues behind water rates, things like, how much revenue do we really need? What capital projects could we defer into the future? What are the things that we can do to really control operations and maintenance costs? Looking at all of those things, looking at the rate options, how it affects customer affordability. And that's been going on since about January of 2022. Looking at the customer impacts, and in June of this year, staff provided the BWS board with an update on the process, and that's resulted in the proposal that you're seeing here and now seeking public input through the end of September. The idea here is to capture all the input from you, and that's being gathered at other public meetings, at neighborhood board presentations, on the BWS website. BWS's board will consider all of that and then decide whether or not to adopt these rates, currently anticipated to be in the September-October timeframe. As I mentioned, a number of community meetings. This is the third one that we've done this week, and there's another one in Mililani next week. There's a number of other ways to provide input. You can go to the BWS website, you can send an email, you can make a phone call, you can scan that QR code. All those things are available to you. Again, we really welcome your input and your questions, and with that, I'll stop talking and see what your thoughts are. And feel free to ask any question, make any comments. All I ask is that you come on up to the microphone.
Can you hear me?
Absolutely,
Okay,
thank you.
my name is Edmund. I'm not a great supporter of desalination, Understand that what you said that Board of Water is constructing one or in the plans of. The reason I'm not a fan of it is because of the sodium sludge that it produces. I know it's real popular in the Saudi Arabia location, but they have a way to spread it out. In Hawaii, we don't have that land space. So, yeah, that's just one of them. And another one is, I know I'm piling on here, the agricultural rates.
Yeah.
Okay, you mentioned focusing on local food production. Okay, I believe this legislation session, recreational cannabis may be legalized. So will those agricultural rates be kind of adjusted for the growth of cannabis? Okay.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Edmund. And I'll move over here so I can see.
I'll trade places.
Your wife, okay. Thank you. On the desalination question, it is a project that we want to build. It'll be in Campbell Industrial Park. I'm going to ask Barry Usagawa, head of our Water Resources Division, to help with the response to that question. Barry?
He's coming up to the microphone.
And the other one on cannabis, that is an excellent question.
Thanks for the question. I'm going right in front of you, bro. Yeah, no, it's called brine concentrate. So yeah, when you pull the salt water from wells, you put it through the RO membrane and it separates that, right? So fresh water side goes into the system. The brine is injected into the ground. So our project site is right down the street here, Campbell Industrial Park, right by the ocean. We have deep wells there. That's the saltwater wells, but the whole area, the whole Campbell Industrial Park is an underground injection control area. So all the industries, the refineries, the power plants, they inject their water in the ground there. It's permittable by the Department of Health. So when it goes in there, it'll dilute with the salt water there, and then it'll move its way out towards the ocean, but pretty deep, and will not affect the nearshore waters. So it's permittable. We still have to get the permit yet, but yeah, we just started the project a couple months ago. So thanks for the question.
Yeah, all right.
And then
On the second question related to cannabis, Edmund, did the legislature actually approve recreational cannabis, or I know it's for medicinal
It didn't pass
purposes?
this legislation session, but when it ended, Governor Green asked his Attorney General to come up with a package to present it for the January 2024 session, and they have 22 senators out of 25 that voted yes. So if they can pass it through the House, recreational cannabis will be legal. And yeah, I obviously, I don't know, I'll just say it. I'm opposed to recreational cannabis being legal for many reasons. But based on what the Board of Water, they're focusing on agriculture, food production. Cannabis is a cash product, agriculture cash product, and they can make so much more than food from it.
Edmund, thank you for that.
Yeah.
And nobody's actually pointed it out to us, but you're right. Actually, what the board is supporting is actually food security. So 3 basic needs for people: safe drinking water, food, and shelter. Some fundamental needs, but cannabis doesn't really fall in that category of food security. But thank you for that suggestion. That's something we'll take a hard look at. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Other questions or comments on what's being proposed?
Good evening.
Good
My name
evening.
is May, and my question is about the Kupuna program.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've heard about it, and I don't have access to all those things you have up there except the telephone. So how would I be able to get information pertaining to the Kupuna program?
When we come out with it, if the board agrees with this program, actually we're gonna do it. We're already working to actually put this program together. You can call us by telephone. So the ways that we still maintain, We know not everybody's using a smartphone or a computer. That sometimes it's just a telephone call, and our communications office will pick up that number and provide you more information. We can mail it to you.
Okay, so when I call in to pay my bill over the phone, I can get information from that department?
Yeah, our customer care division. You can also pay your bill on the phone through our IVR. So I know that Kathleen gave you her business card. So actually, you can just call her directly for that information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now you can say you know somebody.
Kathleen Elliott Pahinui and Jennifer Elfline, head of our customer care division, and Jewel Barnes, head of assistant program administrator, the number 2 at our customer care division. Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Hi, my name is Maricela Larson. I don't really have maybe a question. Obviously, I'm just concerned. I mean, to me, the costs seem already kind of high. And I don't know, sometimes I think like, oh, we're the residents, we're paying a lot, you know? And you know that, you know, Hawaii is very tourist driven. And sometimes I feel, well, they should be paying the most, like, you know, hotels and other industries to make up for some of that cost. And I know they already, you know, based on what you shared, they do. And their costs are going to increase as well, correct? But maybe.
Yeah, that is
what's
correct.
the percent again?
10%, 10%,
Okay.
9, 8.5, 8, 8.
And 8.
Okay, and the residential is what, 8?
They're all the same. Every customer class goes up by the same
By about
amount.
the same.
And they are actually paying 17% more than what it costs to provide them the water. So
Yes.
that helps subsidize the rest of it. I mean, single-family customers, residential
Yeah.
customers,
Yeah,
others.
yeah. I mean, again, it's just a struggle all the time since electricity costs have gone up, water going up, everything going up. I mean, I just don't know how regular families are gonna, you know, deal with that expense. And I'm just afraid, obviously, that more people will continue probably to move out of, you know, Hawaii over time because of this increasing cost overall, you know. But anyway, that's just kind of my 2 cents on it, my opinion.
Thank you so much for sharing. I think another one is that's in the news is a discussion about affordable housing too, whether our children can afford to live here. I have a daughter that's graduating from college next year, and I hope that she decides to come back and work in Hawaii and live here, as opposed to staying on the mainland where it might be cheaper to live and work. Any other questions? I know, talking to Edmund earlier, there was concerns about the issue of wildland fires. And, you know, we see what's happening in Lahaina on Maui, and not only in Lahaina, but up to Kula and other places. That is a concern, and it's driven by climate change. You know, part of it is climate change and the urbanization and how the wilderness areas interface with the urban environment. And climate change is leading to changes in temperature and in weather, rainfall over the island. Now, we know the Waianae coast is getting drier and drier each year. We see that change happening because capacity of our water sources in the Waianae area is actually declining over time. So we continue to bring water from Waipahu, Kunia area and pump water into Waianae. About 60% of the water serving the coast here actually is pumped in from outside the coast. But that is a concern, and after I saw what was happening there, I reached out to our Department of Emergency Management and also a Honolulu Fire Department, and we have a meeting coming up next month to talk about it, because I look at the plans that have been developed in the past, like this Community Wildfire Protection Plan in 2016. I don't think we were really involved in the planning process here, but because we provide a vital resource to the fire department to fight fires, we need to be at the table. We need to be part of that discussion. And you saw earlier, that our electricity bill for last year was like $33.5 million, a 20% increase. That that's telling, that should tell you that of that 145 million gallons a day we have to produce on average, a good bulk of it has to be pumped from underground aquifers and pumped into the pipes and into the water tanks to serve our community. So electricity is very important for us to continue to provide that. On the Waianae Coast, you are blessed with some tunnel sources high up in the mountains that were developed a long time ago. And these tunnel sources penetrate groundwater or fresh water behind these vertical sheets of dense lava rock called dikes. And when we punch through those dikes, those vertical sheets of lava rock underground, there's water trapped behind it. And it flows out into the tunnels and into the pipes into certain parts, especially on the back of Waianae Valley. And they don't need electricity, so they're really important water sources for us. But we are going to be involved in the planning and re-looking at the planning and communications. I see what's happening on Maui, and I understand communications is also very critical. Communication to the community, also communication among the responders between the various city or state agencies. And something that the Board of Water Supply has done is sometimes, we get dependent on cell phones. Everybody has a smartphone now, and like your life revolves around that smartphone. You can't live without it. But when the cell towers go down and there's no electricity, those systems won't work anymore. So for the Board of Water Supply, we're looking at things like old-fashioned radio. So about 25 or so of our employees have voluntarily obtained their ham radio license so that they can also help with communicating with the community and also communicating with ourselves. We're looking at also satellite technology, satellite push-to-talk radio that can connect our 5 remote base yards to our Beretania headquarters. And looking at other ways, but good old-fashioned radio may be some of the last lines of communication that will still be standing. And we want to have redundant layers of communication because that systems can go down. I guess I answered my own question, but was there any other questions from this? Wildland fires are really top of mind right now for us, and they will be going forward in the future.
Anything else? All right. Well, if there's no other questions, I want to thank you all for coming out tonight. Appreciate your input. If there's anything else that you think of after tonight, feel free to call Kathleen or email, go to the website, scan the QR code, and hope you have a great rest of the evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. Mahalo.